Here's something nobody tells you when you're planning an open plan living room. The very thing that makes it beautiful, all that open space, that seamless flow, that wow moment when guests walk through the door, is the exact same thing that makes most people miserable 6 months after moving in. They plan for the aesthetic that did not plan for their life. They did not plan for the moment their teenager is watching something loud on the couch while they are on a work call at the kitchen island. They did not plan for the smell of last night fish curry sitting in the living room or at breakfast. They did not plan for the way a poorly placed sofa makes a 900 square foot open plan feel smaller than a studio apartment. And so here's what happens: people spend months, sometimes years, pinning open plan ideas on mood board. They build or renovate, they move in, and within a season, they are quality guideline how to divide open plan living room at 11 p.m. That is not a design failure, that is a planning failure, and it's incredibly common. This video is not about showing you pretty rooms and calling it advice. This is about the actual mechanics, special psychology, acoustic, and behavioral that separate open plan rooms that generally work from ones that look good in a photograph and quietly drain you every single day. Stay with me because some of what I am about to say is going to challenge assumptions you did not even know you had. Most open plan advice starts with furniture arrangement. That's the wrong place to start. Before a single sofa gets positioned, before a rug gets rolled out, you need to answer one question: how many lives are being lived simultaneously in this space? A retired couple has one kind of answer, a family with 3 kids, a work from home parent, and a dog has a completely different one. And the design that work brilliantly for one will quietly destroy the other. Here's the principle: open plan spaces does not need walls, but they absolutely need zones. And zones are not about dividing space, they are about defining it. There's a concept in environment psychology called affordance. It's the idea that the space communicates to your brain what it's. For a zone with a large rug, low seating, and soft lighting tells your nervous system this is where you rest. A zone with a clear surface, a pendant light, and a bright seating tells it this is where you think. What zones are absent? When the whole floor plan in the undifferentiated expanse of open space, your brain never quite settles. You are always halfway between modes, halfway between working and relaxing, halfway time. It's exhausting. You saw the first thing you do it count your zones before you count your square feet. Most open plan living rooms need at least 3 distinct zones: a conversation zone, a task or dining zone, and a transition zone, the connective tissue between them that allow natural movement without disrupting ether. Here's what separates a functional zone from a decorative one. A functional zone has a ceiling, not necessarily a physical zone has a ceiling, not necessarily a physical ceiling. Thought that's one way to do it, but something that creates a psychological sense of enclosure from above. A pendant light over a dining table, a large ceiling panel in a sitting area, even a large scale piece of wall art hugged deliberately low and wide. This creates what designers call a canopy effects, the sense that your zone has its own sky without in people feel oddly exposed in open plan rooms without knowing why. Let's talk about drugs because this is where more open plan living room fall apart than almost anywhere else. The most common mistake, the rug is too small. A small rug in an open plan space does something visually counterintuitive. Rather than anchoring the sitting area, it makes the entire room feel smaller. It signals to the eye that the sitting area is floating, disconnecting, uncertain of its own place. The room looks unresolved, and people feel that dissonance without being able to name it. The rule is simple and almost nobody follows it. In an open plan sitting area, at minimum the front legs of every sitting piece should sit on the rug. Ideally, all four legs of every piece should be fully on it. If your sofa is 90 inches wide and your rug is 8 by 10, you like have a problem. But here's the more pronounced issue. The generally open plan place spaces, one rug is often not enough. Two rugs clearly distinct, doing different job can define two zones with more elegance than any room divider ever could. A large natural fiber rug covering the sitting conversation area, a completely different material, darker, more structure define the dining zone. Same room, two completely different sensory experiences. Two completely different sensory experiences that not clutter. There's deliberated layering. The textures you choose matter more than the partners. In spaces with high foot traffic and multiple activities happening simultaneously, texture is what gives each zone its acoustic. Design your floor as deliberately as you would design your walls. Natural light is the single most powerful force in an open plan room, and most people treat it like a given rather than a tool. Here's the truth. In open plan spaces, natural light travels, and the way it moves through your room across the day will define how each zone feels at different hours. A sitting area that gets full morning sun might feel perfectly warm and welcoming at 9 a.m. and completely washed out and glaring by noon. A kitchen island that perfectly lit at midday might feel gloomy and disconnected by evening. This is why layered artificial lighting is not a luxury in open plan rooms. It's a structure you need at least three type of light operating independently in an open plan space. Ambient light for the room as a whole, task lighting for functional areas, and accent lighting that adds visual depth and warmth, specifically in the evening hours. The mistake most people make is installing one type of overhead lighting, recessed cans typically, and calling it done. Recessed lighting does one thing, the quality, and everything else poorly. It illuminates without warming, it fills without creating atmosphere, and in an open plan room, atmosphere is what makes the difference between a space that feels alive and one that feels like a waiting room with better furniture, pendant light, and working harder in this regard than almost anything else you can add to an open plan room. A single oversized pendant over a dining zone creates an immediate visual encore. A a pair of smaller pendants flanking a kitchen island creates rhythm, and unlike overhead cans, pendants cast light down downward and outward in a way that creates bold, defined circles of warmth that visually organize that the space beneath them. Dimers are non-negotiable and not up of preference, not non-negotiable. The ability to drop your ambient lighting by 40% and bring your accent lighting up in the evening turns an open plan room from a daytime functional space into something that feels genuinely relaxing after 7 p.m. Without that control, you are fighting your own room every evening. Here's the thing about open plan rooms that nobody puts in their design video. They are loud, not party loud, not concert loud, but the contents low level, cognitively drawing kind of loud that comes from sound bouncing across hard surfaces with nothing to stop it. Voices carry, dishes clatter, the TV blades into conversation, the coffee machine becomes an event. And because people does not connect this sound issue to their space because it does not have a visible source, they connect it to each other instead. Studies in residential acoustic design have found that poor acoustic management in shared living spaces is one of the most underreported contributors to a household tension. Not the loudest contributor, but one of the most consistent. That materials that solve this are not exotic or expensive. Soft furnishing, observed sound curtains on floor to ceiling rods, even the room where privacy is not concerned, and dramatically reduce acoustic bounds. Upholstered panels on walls, when done well, double as artwork. Bookshelves filled with actual books, not decorative objects, are among the most effective acoustic baffles you can put in a residential room without any renovation work. Open plan does not have to mean noisy, it means you have to be intentional in a way that a traditionally divided home naturally handles through its walls. At some point in the planning of your open plan living space, someone is going to show you a beautiful image and say, do that. Maybe it's a designer, maybe it's a family member, maybe it's a thumbnail on a video just like this one. And here's what I want you to hold on to when that happens. A photograph of a room is a lie, not maliciously, just structurally. A camera lens compresses spaces, flattens light, removes smell and sound, and their specific quality of 4 p.m. in February light coming through your actual window in your actual home. It captures a moment in a room that nobody lives in. A room stages for a frame, not for a life. And yet, here's harder truth photograph. And yet, here's the harder truth photographs are sometimes all some of us have access to in terms of inspiration. When you are working with a limited budget, when you are bolting rather than buying, when the closest showroom is 2 hours away, images are your primary reference, which is exactly why I find it generally strange that so many people have decided which is exactly why I find it generally strange that so many people have decided that the medium through which an idea is illustrated determines whether the idea itself has value. Whether a space is shown through a camera or render, or yes, even an AI generated visual, the underlying design principle is ether sound or it is not ether. The zone functions or it does not ether the light surface the room or it does not. The idea deserves to be evaluated on its own terms. What we are trying to do here, what every honest design creator is trying to do, is help you live better in your space, not win aesthetic points, not fill a feed, help you build something that actually holds up under the weight of real daily life. That's what open plan living done right can be, not just a beautiful floor plan, a home that earns its design every single day. So here's where you start before dimensions, before Pinterest boards. Before a single piece of furniture gets chosen, sit in your empty space or the space you are planning and ask how many lives will this room hold at once. Answer that honestly, build your zones around it, light them deliberately, give them acoustic texture, and then choose the pieces that serve those zones rather than just filling them. That's the difference between open plan the photographs beautifully and open plan that actually work. See you in the next one.